Do you know what you're feeding your kids today?
Do you know what is healthy?
Do you know what home cooked food means anymore?
Do you know how many chemicals there are in your food?
This is the exact problem these founders are going to solve for you and your families.
Watch till the end.
Let's go.
क्या आप जानते हैं कि हमारे खाने में ही जहर है? And that reason was in early 60s and mid 60s when India had a shortage of food grain. So that time the biggest challenge was, and we had to import very low quality food grains from US and European countries. So that was the biggest challenge, was to increase the production in the farming.
India is by far a price sensitive market. I can tell you that, hey Akhil, hey Vishruth, I think you should consume this is better for your health. Your first reaction is not going to be, is it, or you're not going to be asking yourself, is it actually better for my health? Kitna extra dena hoga iska is going to be your first reaction.
But balance is overrated.
Balance is the privilege.
Balance is something we speak about so often. Every Bhagavad Gita says, oh, you should be balanced as a human being. Every single person preaches balance.
I think I would start with your balance point, and I would agree with both of you. Too many questions, and I'm going to challenge. So please don't mind. क्या आप जानते हैं कि हमारे खाने में ही जहर है? The biggest turmoil and the challenge which the world is facing today is the increase in the instances of lifestyle disease. You look at our country, young people are dying of heart attacks. People at 20s and 30s are having diabetes and cholesterol issues. Gastro, every second person has a problem. Why these problems is happening? 3 reasons. What we eat, what we breathe, and what we think in our mind. So what we breathe is a problem related to pollution, which a lot of world bodies are working on this. What we think is a matter of maybe meditation, spirituality, and mind control tricks. But what we eat, there is hardly anybody addressing. So our concept, KSKT Agromart, Kisan Se Kitchen Tak, is trying to address this problem by creating a supply chain and market linkage between the farmers who wants to grow healthier produce, who wants to do Jaivik farming, natural farming, as we know. Once upon a time we used to say, "Mere desh ki dharti sona ugle ugle hire moti." But now with in last 40-50 years, with a lot of MNC pesticide companies and the chemical fertilizers and the growth enhancers and the weedicide coming in, and the whole agriculture industry has been taken into grips by these companies who are supplying chemicals for farming. And what those chemicals are doing, they're basically entering into our food through 2 ways. One, systematically entering into the fruits, veggies, or the grains, because it is absorbed by their roots, and 2, on the surface of it. So that is what we are consuming, is a slow poison, and it affects our health, immunity, everything. And that is why you see the increased instances of this. So we thought that let's work on this and try and create an ecosystem which can motivate farmers कि आप लोग जैविक फार्मिंग की तरफ आइए, नेचुरल फार्मिंग की तरफ आइए. और उनका बिगेस्ट चैलेंज ये है कि वो करना चाहते हैं. इनफैक्ट जब मैं टाटा स्टील में एज अ सेल्स हेड काम करता था, तो व्हेनेवर आई यूज्ड टू विजिट रूरल एरियाज, आई यूज्ड टू ऑब्जर्व कि हमारे फार्मर्स अपने परिवार के लिए एक अलग तरह की खेती कर रहे हैं और मंडी के लिए अलग तरह की खेती कर रहे हैं. Because Mandi never gave them the right price for this naturally farmed produce, which is now we call organic produce, while they knew that this is not good for the health, and that is why for their family they were doing a different kind of farming. So that is when the seeds of this thought was formed, and we wanted to do it always. And 4 years back we decided to take this as a venture and created this. But the problem was that somebody has to create a supply chain and market linkage to take this product to a willing consumer who is willing to buy and willing to pay for it. And that's only farmer will get motivated. So in KSKT Agromart, this is what we are doing. We are using supply chain and the technology to create a market linkage between a Jaivik farmer and a consumer who is willing to buy healthier food.
What is your solution and how do you implement it?
Okay, the solution has got 2 parts to it. One is farmers, because farmers know what is good or what is not good, but they are bound by their, as such farming is not a very remunerative industry as of now, and Mandi pay them only for the looks and the quantity of the produce. And when we do something in a natural way, because it's part of the ecosystem, so there would be some caterpillars, some butterflies, some insects which will sit on your fruits, vegetables, have a bite on it. So it will not be the best looking, and the production is also a little lesser. So obviously it's a costlier farming. So, but consumer also know that the consuming healthier food is a better alternative, because if you don't consume healthier food, if you're affecting your health and immunity by taking the slow poison in the chemically grown and chemically processed food, end of the day you have to pay that much to the pharma industry. So whether you pay to the farmer or you pay to the pharma, that's the choice, and doctors. So we thought that one side we need to instill that confidence in Kisans, that if you do Jaivik farming, we will create a market linkage for you and we will get the right price for your produce. On the other side, educate consumers that switching to healthier food is a much better alternative than trying to save few rupees on buying food items and then paying probably 10 times of that to doctors and hospitals and pharma industry.
There is a reason why fertilizers have come. There is a reason why pesticides have become important. You can tell me why they're not important, but I name the reason as scale. So I'm a person of finance, and all of these negative things like oil and gas, like cement, these bring in scale. I feel pesticides, fertilizers can bring in scale faster. So I wish to understand how this will be economically feasible for scale, for mass. Can we even produce so much naturally? It is sufficiently priced so that everybody can buy.
So there is a reason the Mandi bases its pricing on looks and quantity. Let's keep the looks aside for now. Why do you think it bases it on quantity, and how is that quantity measured?
No, both of you, Akhil and Vishud, both of you are right. There is definitely a reason which came in, and that reason was in early 60s and mid 60s when India had a shortage of food grain. So that time the biggest challenge was, and we had to import very low quality food grains from US and European countries. So that the biggest challenge was to increase the production in the farming. So the quick fix was that let's switch to chemical farming, use a lot of chemical fertilizers and pesticides and growth enhancers and weedicides and everything, and do more produce out of acre of a farm. But that has a lot of cons to it, because one, it makes your whole farming cycle get into a trap of chemical farming, because every time you use a chemical, next time you have to use more of this for the same effect. So that is one. Two, it introduces the harmful chemicals in the food which affects the health of the people who consume it. So there is a sustainable way of doing it, but probably at that time it was the right thought. But then everything has to balance. Santulan banna bahut zaruri hai. There is a section of society which cannot afford costlier food. So
I would say a
large section of society which cannot afford costlier food. For them, it was right at that time to increase the food grain production in multifold by doing whatever we could do at that time. But then, if you actually get into the depth of the natural farming can give you higher production than chemical farming if it is continuously sustained over 4 to 6 farming cycles. But the point is, ecosystem was not developed. The mechanization of farms was not there. The crop planning was not there. The intracropping techniques were not there. The easiest way which we found was, and it was also interesting for the companies who were pushing their chemical fertilizers and pesticides in India, the MNC companies. So we took the easiest route out for increasing production. The sustainable route is switching back to Jaivik farming, and Jaivik farming, it is a proven fact. If you do a proper integrated natural farming where you use all the regenerative natural elements into the farming, it can give you more production. And plus, it actually creates a balance in the entire ecosystem, the earthworms which are there in the soil. If you do 6 cycles of chemical farming, those earthworms are gone. They are below 8 feet. So you have to do 6 cycles of natural farming to bring them up back to the soil. And these are the earthworms who produce all the macro and micro elements required for the farms to, plants to grow. So yes, we took the short route, but probably that was required at that time. But yes, it can be balanced, and people who can support natural farming, who can pay little extra to our farmers today, and probably once the ecosystem is built, then even the cost of natural farming would be equal to or lesser than chemical farming.
Let's get into the weeds, but first, let's have a breakdown of each of your roles in the company and what exactly the solution is that you bring.
Both of us have been on this, I would say, for the last 2.5 years. What my founder looks at is the strategic planning, where we need, since there's a huge ecosystem which has to be developed, right from your farm level to your supply chain with your operations, and then end customer delivery, and bridging that gap is your e-commerce system. So the strategic input comes right from here, where, of course, with almost 25, 27, 30 years of experience, you're able to form that. What I look into is the hardcore execution of that. Because yes, once the input comes, you have to be working with the team full on to make sure whatever has been planned is executed completely, end to end.
And as they say, the ideation is 1%, execution is 99%. So I would say he's doing 99% of the job. I am doing easier 1% of the job. But yes, I do support him in execution whenever required. But I'm very happy that I have a co-founder who is able to take this mantle of taking up the difficult task of execution.
So Santosh, you said you started 4 years ago. What was the ecosystem like back then versus what is it now? What is the impact you have had? And let's look at a chain which starts at the farmer and ends at my house today.
It actually started as a passion project. When early days of COVID, when I was sitting idle, which was very rare in last 27 years. So this is when my thoughts formed up, ki ab to karna hi hai. So that is when I started putting my thoughts together and started connecting to people. So till then, the natural farming was done by two kinds of people. One, big farmers who were doing as their part of their farming as the natural farming to build their name and build their brand equity in the market, and some passionate people who were doing farming as a hobby, not as a profession. So what we did was, I came down to North India, scouted some farms and took 2 farms on lease and started doing farming myself. So it started as a passion project for 6 months, 9 months I would say. We were focused on farming ourselves, doing a natural farming. Then we realized this passion would sustain for long if we make it a profitable business, if we make it a viable business. That's when we thought that we need to build the entire supply chain and e-commerce ecosystem. Till then, we were going to the societies and selling in the societies and also selling to some of the shopkeepers in a B2B mode. Then we started working on building up e-commerce and supply chain network. Ishan joined the company as the co-founder, and we clearly divided our roles. And then we made an e-commerce company. And then what we did was also, we had a lot of people doing similar things at a smaller scale. So we started to create a collaborative force of them by either acquiring those companies and merging with us, or collaborating with them with a long-term partnership with farmer partners, with FPOs as partners, with aggregators as partners. So this is how this entire system built, because a passion would last for some time, but if you make that passion self-sustainable, as they say, कि पहले अपना ऑक्सीजन मास्क लगाएं फिर दूसरों की सहायता करें, तो अगर हमारा ऑक्सीजन मास्क लगा रहेगा तो हम दूसरों की सहायता कर पाएंगे. So that is where we tried to make it a sustainable business, and today we are at a path where we are in a growth stage company. So I think it's a journey very well done.
यार क्या लगता है दूसरों की सहायता करने में? What goes in for you to go from farm or to go from land to somebody's house? Why is it so difficult? It should be very simple. क्या है? तोड़ के लिया, रिक्शा में डाला, चला गया. Easy process.
Agreed. Simple तो बहुत होना चाहिए. But coming down to, ultimately we are sitting in India. India is by far a price sensitive market. I can tell you that, hey Akhil, hey Vishruth, I think you should consume this is better for your health. Your first reaction is not going to be, is it, or you're not going to be asking yourself, is it actually better for my health? कितना extra देना होगा इसका is going to be your first reaction. So on that, our biggest challenge actually is convincing the customer that yes, this is better for your health. For that, we've done a couple of things. We have had farm tours organized in the past where we get customers to a actual farm where the produce is coming from. We have those farmers talking about the activities that they conduct over there, what is it that they're using, how are they growing it. The moment as a customer you're able to see that yes, this farmer is growing the produce like this for me, your confidence increases. You will once again and again and again come and purchase it from me. Ultimately, how we can be self-sustaining is when we have repeat customers, referrals, where we don't have to, unnecessarily spend on Meta and Facebook and give the money to them to get our orders in. I'm clearly saying not customers, our orders in. So these are a couple of activities which we conduct in order to convince our customers. We have a few customers who have been purchasing from us from almost day one, been almost 2.5, 3 years now, and they're still there with us. I'm not saying defaults do not happen on orders. Now, as a customer, yes, you want to come and purchase, say if you order 10 items, you want all 10 of them to come to you immediately. But when you're conscious about what you're eating, if one or two things do not come, keeping in mind where your produce is coming from, you will understand and you will say, "Theek hai, there could have been quality issues." Ultimately, it is natural farming, it is organic farming, Jaivik farming, whatever you would want to name it. People are actually okay with it, but educating them about it is where the main challenge lies. And what I've noticed myself, as let's just take the time of our grandparents, probably in the 60s, 50s, 70s, we would hear our grandparents say कि भिंडी में कीड़े निकले हैं, इसमें कीड़ा निकला है, उसमें कीड़ा निकला है. How much do you actually hear that nowadays? Never. You'll never hear something like that. कीड़े निकल रहे थे because pesticides were not used at that point. Now there are so many pesticides used, there's going to be no keeda there. So the farms where we are procuring anything from, they will not be perfect. The leaves will have holes because fertilizers, pesticides have not been used. Insects will come and sit onto it. And we receive customer complaints like this, कि आपने तो मुझे फटा हुआ लीफी कुछ सामान भेज दिया है. There are holes in it.
आपकी पालक में तो छेद है.
हाँ, आपकी पालक में छेद है. It's a very common thing. And then that is when we say, okay, boss, this is proof that we are not supplying you with something which is adulterated. It is natural. It is organically grown. There are issues there. Yes, we'll replace it for you the next day. And that is one of the reasons why we are also not looking at quick deliveries. It's not that we can't get into that quick deliveries, but you use the 10-minute, 15-minute deliveries.
You can name them Zepto, Swiggy.
You use them. And to be honest, even I use them. But I use them if I want to indulge in Lay's, if I want to have any of the snacks, I definitely use them. But if I want any of my fresh produce or anything which is healthy, I would never use them because I know things are coming. They are old. They're not the same day. And what we do, where we stand apart, is so you place your order the previous day. It is procured, plucked, harvested next day morning, and then delivered to you within less than 12 hours of harvest as well. Zero wastage. So we are only procuring against the order that is coming.
So I would add to what Ishan is saying, and on Akhil's question, that yes, it looks pretty easy. That there is farmers who are growing it, there is a business process needs to be set, and it needs to be supplied to the customers' houses. The process looks pretty simple, but there is variability at every stage, and that is what is business management is all about. The one is the variability at the nature side, on the farmer's side, because I would say farmers are the biggest risk-taking entrepreneurs. We talk of entrepreneurs taking risk, but the big entrepreneurs are not taking risk. The farmers are the biggest risk takers. They are dependent on whether what kind of fasal hogi, nahi hogi, कीड़ा लगेंगे नहीं लगेंगे, मौसम कैसा रहेगा, मंडी में क्या भाव मिलेगा, all those things is the risk which they are taking, but still they keep on taking this every crop cycle. So one is the variability on the farm side. Second is the variability on the entire logistics network side, where the vehicles have to reach on time. It is all people dependent also. It is sometimes road blockages are there, sometimes rains are there, sometimes. So it has to reach on time in our distribution center, then it has to reach on time to consumer. So this is the second variability, which is within the handling process and the supply chain process. And the biggest is consumer behavior. Because consumer is now, I'm sorry to say, but consumer is spoiled for choices by a lot of things, and probably we as consumers have started valuing the non-significant things more than the significant things. Like, I want my vegetables in 10 minutes, while my mom and my grandmom used to go to Mandi once or twice a week and buy 4 days of vegetables or 7 days of vegetables and bring it back, because they wanted to buy fresh there for next 3-4 days, and twice a week they used to go there. So why can't we plan what we want to eat today for the lunch and what we want to eat today for the dinner and tomorrow for the breakfast and tomorrow for the lunch, and order in advance? Because then it will help farmer to reduce that variability. It will help companies like us to give you freshly harvested. What you're buying from a so-called quick commerce is something which is harvested 4 to 5 days old. So it has been kept into cold storages, warehouses, packed, and then your last mile is 10 minutes. But it was plugged from the farm 4 days back. While our last mile, we take order till midnight and deliver you by next day noon. It looks like a 12-day delivery cycle. But after you order, it is harvested early morning, reaches our warehouse by 8, and packed within an hour or so, and reaches to you by 12 or so. So we are giving you freshly harvested in the morning. So these are the things. So on the consumer side also, one, consumer has started expecting unrealistic things like 10 minutes delivery, like every piece of the naturally grown produce has to be perfect in looks and shape, which will not be. It's nature. All of us are not equal in terms of shapes and sizes as humans. So how the naturally grown vegetables and fruits would be. And also in terms of expecting the kind of pricing which some of these big players are offering, burning huge amount of money. But if we start doing that, then we will not be able to support our farmers and they will no longer continue the Jaivik farming. So these are few things which needs to be addressed. So yes, it is very simple process on the look of it, but it is a difficult task, and we are happy that my team has been able to do a great justice to this difficult task, and we are at a stage where we are a significant player in Delhi NCR in this domain.
So yeah, education is something that takes a long time. Each of us have spent about 20 odd years in school and college, and that's when we come out being educated. Similarly, when we're picking fruits and vegetables, it's not formal education that we receive, it's what we see at home, it's what we see when we accompany our parents to the grocery store, or when someone comes home with groceries, you see a certain thing, or when you travel somewhere and something is looking better than it's supposed to, it is always appreciated. Oh, tomato kitna lal hai, itna bada hai, itna juicy hai. Like, I remember when I had to go and pick fruits for the first time when I had gone to college and school, and when I was going grocery shopping, I was confused. How do I pick something? Especially when I'm cooking, like, how do you know you're cooking with the right thing? Because there is such less formal education. It is whatever you pick up here and there. So it has come down for years, and it is something that takes a long time. And it is also something that is very hard to measure the effect. Today, you and I can go have the same education. You can take something from it, he can take something from it, he can take something from it, and I will take a fourth perspective. So it's very hard to measure. How are you going about this process of educating customers? Because whatever the behaviors that you spoke about, the customers have been educated by people who have come offering these services. Koi aaya, अरे देखो 10-minute timer delivery है, the stopwatch will start, the fellow will be at your place before the stopwatch ends. So you're like, oh, this is great. And then you get used to it, and then you start expecting it. So it's a behavior that is grown over time, and humans hate changing. So how are you going about this process of education? Because it's expensive, it is time consuming, and it is hard to measure. So what are you guys doing about it?
This is the way we have been trained, I would say. The education is something which gives you the ability to think logically and decide what is right and what is wrong. But yes, we have been trained this way, by our society. We have been trained this way by a lot of other business players. We have been trained that thanda matlab Coca-Cola. We have not been trained that thanda matlab Sekanji. So our minds have been trained by society and by marketeers like this. Yes, it is a challenging thing, but if you look at worldwide trend and if you look at a lot of research which has gone into, and coming from a professional background, coming from the education and the experience, we are not only following the passion or this thing, we are also deploying the business management tools and tactics to understand business dynamics better and crack it. So looking at a lot of research in US and also in India, there was a research by McKinsey in 2021 which said that 62% of the Indian wants to switch to healthier produce and they're willing to pay little higher for the balance of quality and price. But yes, India is still a price sensitive market. So that is there. In terms of what is good, what is bad, we would remember that it's not the biggest and the best looking choles and rajma which taste better. There are smaller seeds of rajmas and chole which are desi and produced in Uttarakhand and parts of Punjab which is organic. That tastes much better. Desi rajma, desi dal, we used to say that. So that is what actually that consciousness needs to build. It's a long term.
I get it. I get that it is good for me. But the current licenses, the current stamps, they tell me it's okay. Like the health side of the government will tell me it's okay. You have named diabetes, I have khane mein zahar, I have, what else do I have?
Lifestyle diseases.
Lifestyle, cancer. Agar itna kuch hai, why is it legal? Why is it just not made illegal and be like, no, you can't do this? And why is, like, not just India, this is worldwide. Then why is that happening? What's your take? I want both your takes.
I think that would be a good thing. So, legal, ethical, and moral are three different domains.
Okay.
So, it would be legal. Even in some countries, even marijuana is legal. In some countries, it is not.
But marijuana doesn't affect your health.
Alcohol is legal. Tobacco is legal. And we all know alcohol, tobacco affects the health. So, legal, moral, and ethical are two different things.
Alcohol and tobacco is legal, but every time you see an alcohol bottle or a tobacco thing, it has that disgusting image of a lung made on it.
And
So
it
there
is
is a very-
mandatory to say.
It is very
It
clear
has come in
warning.
the last 10 years. Before that, it was not there.
Whenever
Because
it has come, but as long
before
as I
that-
have seen it.
Before
even-
that, cigarettes were being prescribed.
But even
As good
today,
for
in
the
a
lungs.
movie, in our Bollywood movies, every time there is a glass of alcohol or a cigarette or something, and there's a warning that pops up: drinking and smoking is injurious to health. So it is legal, but it is not like, everyone is well aware कि ये करोगे तो risk है. खाने में कुछ मतलब warning नहीं है. People are prescribing कि ये करो.
What I'll add is cigarettes, alcohol are newer than food. Food has been going on for ages. 60s में आया, उसके बाद realize हुआ कि हमारे लिए बुरा है. But if you see from the 60s till now, the average lifespan of a human being has increased. While consuming these vegetables, while consuming such meat, while consuming these pesticides, right? Where does both your conviction come from?
See, it is not about the average life of a customer. It is about the healthy life of a customer. Because if last 40 years of our age, if we are fully dependent on medication and having so many of chronic diseases, then that's not the quality life which we want. So that is there. So the conviction comes from there also. And two, yes, as we were discussing the earlier subject, legal is something which is driven by certain compulsions, certain commercial objectives, certain social objectives also. Because sometimes we had to grow the food grain production. While there is something which is moral, which is right, which is this thing, I don't say that people who consume food which is grown chemically or people who grow are doing any crime. No, they are not. Because there is a commercial compulsion of farmers also, that if they don't use fertilizer and pesticides, Mandi is going to give them 6 rupees kilo, 8 rupees kilo, 10 rupees kilo. Only going to just look at the look of the produce and weigh their produce. That's it. No matter what quality you have grown. And most of the consumer wants cheaper. So it's a conscious of a consumer, and obviously also the afford what they can afford. the willingness to afford. So that is why we also know the realities, and our target audience right now is the upper middle class and middle class who is willing to switch to healthier food alternatives and who are willing to pay little extra for this, because current ecosystem has a higher cost. Once we are able to grow the ecosystem, the Jaivik farming is that scale, the cost will come probably lower than the chemical farming produce, but current ecosystem is that. So we are starting with that, and change has to start somewhere. Even if we are able to, I would say, affect 5% of the people of the country, it will be achievement. And if we are able to affect 5% improvement in the eating habit of the 50% of the country's population, it's a good achievement. It's delta is plus.
If you actually see the last 2 or 3 budgets, the government itself has been talking about moving back to natural farming. 2 years ago, if I'm not wrong, they spoke about having the entire Gangetic belt move into natural farming. Last year, they've again spoken about moving about 1 crore farmers, or was it 1 crore? I'm not too sure of the figure.
Yes.
But it's moving 1 crore farmers and helping them out move again back into natural farming. This is, I guess, back in 2020 or 2021. Sri Lanka all of a sudden moved into natural farming, and that's different, that the entire system collapsed in Sri Lanka. We've all heard about that.
They did it without a plan.
Yes, so slowly and steadily, our government itself is supporting natural farming. They want to move on.
In fact, I would add to this. This is an interesting thing. When we created our concept in 2020 and floated the concept, 2021 the budget came in, the agri budget and our concept. 70-80% of our concept was in the agri budget, and we didn't influence. It was a coincidence. So I actually circulated the copy of agri budget to entire my circle, and see, the government of India is taking a clue from my project and drafting their agri budget like that. And they talked of promoting natural farming across the Gangetic belt, because see, it not only affects the soil, it not only affects the food. Once the rains are there, the excess of chemicals which are there in the farmland gets washed away and goes into water bodies. It affects the water ecosystem, the quality of life in the water ecosystem, the fish quality, everything gets affected. And the drinking water quality also, because that same river water is taken up by the water bodies and then processed and then sent to our houses in the taps. So it is affecting the entire ecosystem. So governments are also talking. If you look at US, now 31% of the consumers are buying healthier food alternatives. India is still less than 10%, single digit. So
these are all numbers which seem very like, what is real happening? Governments talk in budgets. How much of that budget is executed?
Let's talk about the poison cycle. Okay, let's take governments for example. Let's say governments launch an agri budget, and they say we are going to pay taxpayer money towards the agriculture sector, so that agriculture sector can go to natural farming. And innately, in the current state of things, natural farming makes vegetables more expensive. To get that agri budget, you need to sell more expensive vegetables, which you guys are betting on that middle class, upper middle class is willing to pay more for my vegetables. On the other hand, the government agenda universally will be to lower inflation. Lower inflation means that the inflation basket needs to be lower in price, right? Which means that tomato, pyaz, basic vegetables, they cannot go higher in price, right? So it becomes cyclically poisonous. मैं जो मर्जी सोच लूँ. At the end of the day, a business has two parts primarily, and we deal with founders. There's build, where I love my product, I love my factory. Oh my God, I'm going to do this. Oh my God, I'm going to build this in the most sustainable manner. And then there is sell, where please buy my stuff, please look at it, please I wish to educate you, and we call that marketing, right? Selling is a very tough part in the vegetable space, fruit space, and whatever it is. And the government is against you. They're playing against you despite whatever they say they're going to do for the agriculture sector.
And you said it at the beginning, farming is a very low remunerative field.
So
there is uncertainty, there is logistics, there is Mandi, there is looks, there is quantity, there is so much going on. And at the end of the day, as Akhil said, you want the prices to come down. Since COVID, we have been reading this whole thing on, oh, inflation is so high, oh, interest rates are so high. What is the Fed going to do? What is the RBI going to do? How is the RBI reacting? How is the Fed reacting? This is this. So there is this entire bubble that is created, which is like 2 and 2 is not making 4. 2 and 2 is making 50.
I would take a stand to challenge this. I would say all of this is solvable. Only thing is, we need to clear our priorities and we need to create a balance. Like you said, and it's not that government is against us or against farmers or this thing, but
They are against price raises.
unfortunately, I would say that see, there are certain commercial compulsions, there are certain political compulsions. There is also has to be a social compulsion and also has to be an ecological compulsion. If we balance these four, I would take an example. And it's not that I'm questioning the subsidy given to farmers. The subsidy is given on chemical fertilizers. There is no subsidy if you're using natural fertilizers or producing natural fertilizers for your own farm and using it. So on one side, you're giving a subsidy on natural chemical fertilizers. On the other side, you're not giving any subsidy and support to the natural farming. So natural farming will become costlier. So I'm not saying you withdraw the subsidy, because there are farmers who are not making enough money and they need to use fertilizers, and there are people who are consuming these products to continue that, but support natural farming also. If you don't make both of them fight on a equal this thing, as they say, समतल जमीन होनी चाहिए लड़ने के लिए. If you're making one, giving one guy a higher stand by subsidizing a chemical farming, by giving subsidy on urea and phosphate and DAP, and natural farming, whoever is making his own gobar khad or vermicompost, is obviously incurring all that cost in making that and no subsidy for that. So that is what is creating this balance. Then the ecological end of the day, you will end up putting so much of pollution control mechanism, water treatment mechanism, all those things are cost. So if we look at a long term and we look at balancing all the objectives, this is all solvable problems. It is not. But yes, sometimes we do get myopic, and as we said that we sorted the shortage of food grain problem by opening up the floodgates for chemical farming. Probably selectively we would have used.
But balance is overrated. Na?
Balance is a privilege.
Balance is something we speak about so often. Every Bhagavad Gita says, oh, you should be balanced as a human being. Every single person preaches balance. But yeah, balance doesn't exist in the world. If we knew balance today, each of us would be very different human beings. We do not know balance. Balance is a very idealistic concept.
And balance, when we talk about in commercial terms, comes down to this very beautiful number called GDP per capita. And no matter what the economy of India is, on a GDP per capita basis, we are in the bottom 10% of the world. And we can say it's because of the number of people we have. That is also not true. China is far, far ahead, right? So we don't have the privilege of balance. And when a new farmer is going to teach their child how to farm, they are going to teach them urea use karo. They are going to teach them ye sasta milta hai. They are going to teach them all of this stuff.
We are not governments. We are not policymakers. So we are today talking to you guys who are doing a startup in this space where we are talking about the organic farming, because that's the concept that you all are bringing in. So we do not have government influence. We do not have law influence. So we have to work with what we currently have or what we are foreseeing that we will have.
And India doesn't have taxpayer money. India does not have the authority to provide subsidy to both the sides. India does not have the authority to supply the weapons and the shields, right? So we are in the middle. And when you are talking about education, for you guys, a huge challenge is consumer education. It's also farmer education. And if the farmers were educated, then the crops right now would be priced higher. They would right now be giving it to the cities at a higher price, right? It doesn't add up.
Yeah.
So because the farmers are not in control of the prices.
Because they don't know.
The mandis are setting the price.
Yeah. I think I would start with your balance point, and I would agree with both of you. Too many questions, and I'm going to challenge. So please don't mind. Balance is a privilege. Very well said, Akhil. And Vishnu was talking about Gita, talking of achieving balance. So I agree with both of you. And that is exactly the need to strive for the balance and try to strike a balance, because it's not there today. It's there as a privilege. But if we don't do it, nature will do with us. Whether you look at floods coming in the hilly areas where there is unbalanced construction going across the rivers, or global warming for that matter, or pandemics striking because of our food habits changing, and we not doing enough for the air pollution and water pollution and everything. So yes, it does not exist today. Perfect balance does not exist. I agree, but yes, we all of us need to do our bit and try and achieve that balance. That's what it is all about. So we are trying to do our own bit in terms of governments. Sometimes, yes, it is a compulsion, which is either commercial compulsion or political compulsion, which makes them create certain unbalanced policies. But I won't say rather that there is a lack of funds or lack of intent on this. It is probably they need to balance their short term objectives, which are basically their GDP, tax collections, and political compulsions vis-a-vis the long term. So that is what is required, and it will have its own way of correcting itself.
So balance has a commercial aspect to it. If it did not have, it would be very, very simple to do. Let's talk commercials. What does it cost? What does it take to build your exact business? What does it take to get the logistics set up? Logistics being how something goes from one place to another. And what does it take for something to get to my door and for it to be good enough?
So last about 3 years, we spent building up the business right from scratch. When you start something, of course, you have something in mind. You start it, then you realize, probably it can be done better in this way. And those things have happened. That happens over the journey of 2 years. Happens over a journey of 1.5, 2, 3 years, whatever you want to put it. We are still at a stage where we are still evolving and figuring out every day how we can be better tomorrow. Coming right from the business operations, we've got multiple farmer partners where we are procuring our produce from. So we procure it in large quantities. It comes to a warehouse, which is at Gurgaon, Sector 102. At a warehouse, the sorting, grading of the produce happens. The best quality produce is, of course, sorted out for the B2C customers. The grade B quality produce is sorted out for the B2B customers, a Horeca segment, which is what is acceptable over there. Once all the sorting, grading, packing is done at a main warehouse, we have the transportation happening to various hubs. That's our delivery points. Across, since we are catering to entire Delhi NCR, we've got one hub around Dwarka, one hub in South Delhi around Kalkaji, and one hub in Noida, which is Sector 14 Metro, around over there. Once your produce, your packed items reach these hubs, you have your last mile, which is taken care of by riders. Now, a major challenge which we've been facing, which a lot of guys have not been facing, is our average order value is working out between 1,500 to 2,000 rupees, while the industry standards are at about 400 to 600.
If we were to put it in terms of vegetables, let's take any 2-3.
It's not only vegetables. Again, what we are getting confused over here is that we are only a fruits and vegetables player. No, we are not. We are also a player for healthy food alternatives. Actually, what we look at our website, which is kazeliving.com, is that if you as a customer want to look at any food produce which is healthy, you come on to us. It's not only the fruits and vegetables. Yes, the fruits and vegetables are natural, organic, the exotics. You also have the bakery section, which is a lot healthier, not your normal breads. You have no maida wala breads also. You've got sourdough breads. You've got gluten-free breads. Apart from that, then you have the dairy section, which is instead of the normal milk that we were just talking about today was your mother dairy ka 1 day old milk. Here you're getting milk which is milked the same day. It is packed and delivered to you within probably 5 hours of
Oils
milking.
and ghees.
Oils and ghees. We don't have the normal
Organic and cold pressed oils, different varieties of oils and desi ghee.
Yep.
A2 ghee.
Now we don't have the normal ghee that you're talking about. We've got A2 ghee, which is made by the hand churned Bologna method. You've got cold pressed oils, which are not cold pressed and wood pressed oils. So the fact is, we have these products. It's just that it's like we are your go-to marketplace for anything that is healthy.
So we have grains, we have pulses, we have spices, we have dry fruits, we have oils and ghees, we have fruits, we have vegetables. So the entire range of what we consume in our kitchen.
What is A2? This term A2 milk, A2 ghee.
And I've
has
seen these
been-
on Zepto.
Yeah.
By the way, I've seen A2 ghee, A2 milk. on
Like this
Zepto.
term
What are the
A2
names?
has been floating around since around COVID.
It is a type of protein, basically, which is a healthier protein in the milk. And what we do is not the normal A2, because it is all desi cows, which is Gir cows and Sahiwal cows, and they are fed organic feed, organic grass. They are made to this thing, and that is what is the better quality milk.
That is the reason why our average order value is almost 3x of the
What is
industry.
the problem that you're facing?
Now the problem is your boxes become very, very large. Each rider, for example, if you have now, because each rider can probably carry about 3 orders, which is about 6 to 7 boxes. But because of large order sizes, we have a lot of order sizes which are coming to even 5,000, 7,000, 10,000 and 13,000 also at one go is what customers spend on a website. Now that means if you have such large order values, that means one customer is probably going to their order will fit into about 7-8 boxes. So one rider is only going to be carrying one order.
So 2 riders may be carrying one order.
Yeah, that's also the case. So these are extreme logistical challenges which we end up facing. That because it's not only कि एक order है इतना order इसको deliver करके आना है. It's not that. These are large order values, and we've been trying to solve it for the last almost 3 months. Being very honest, I'm confused how to solve it.
Guys, maybe some of you could solve the problem for them.
With all these challenges, and every stage has a challenge. When we started, the challenges were there, it was different in nature. But I think the credit to the team and Ishan particularly, from 2 lakh rupees a month, in 30 months, we are at 2 crore a month. So 100 times growth in 30 months, and a lot of, I would say, credit to our consumers who are patronizing us and who have realized this value, and who of Delhi is our customer now. Our customer is Creamy de la Cream, or the top elite class of the Delhi and NCR, or Gurgaon and Noida is our customer. We are growing this customer base. We have reached up to 30,000 plus people. So that is there. And grown 100 times from the day we started our e-commerce. The first month was less than 2 lakh. We are now doing 2 crore a month.
1.5 to be precise.
Yeah.
1.54
lakh to 2 crore in 30 months. So that is what the journey has been. And now time is that in another 2 years, we grow it another 100 times.
So do you believe you have a small part of a large market?
Yeah, we are still
the 0.0001
third decimal point or fourth decimal point. Food and grocery is a huge market. The market size is 85 lakh to 90 lakh crore a year in India. And if I only take those 60% people who are willing to buy healthier produce, and even in that who willing to buy, and in that we again take those 40% middle and upper middle class who can pay for that healthier produce, even then that market comes pretty huge. I mean,
So you're saying 90 lakh crores का 60% पकड़ लेते हैं, which is about 50 lakh crores. उसका 40% पकड़ लेते हैं, which is about 20 lakh crores. उसमें you just have to get 1%. 2,000 crore revenue, or in fact, even that 1% का about
yeah, that's what. So
Yeah.
market is huge.
and you're the
Market is
unicorn.
huge. India is a huge market overall, and food and grocery is the largest. I mean, all Indian put together, whatever we spend, the majority goes into food and grocery.
These are very easy statements to make.
I agree.
Talking about big market, then talking about isse chota, then talking about isse chota, then saying I just want 1%, I just want 0.5%. The real is you guys are in the food business. Everybody wakes up in the morning, thinks about food, has food and starts thinking about the next food item, right? Which means you are in the business of something that everyone is thinking
At all times.
and nobody wants to pay for. Raw food material, non-processed, right? Why do you think that this was the right time for you to start your business in the demographic that you started in?
Time-wise, I would say it was most appropriate time to start it, because one, the consciousness is coming in, particularly in our target audience, which is middle and upper middle class, in terms of switching over to healthier food alternatives. A lot of fitness freaks and health freak peoples are there. Two, this pandemic changed the perspective. Pandemic was a time when people realized कि बॉस बाकी सब ठीक है, अगर हेल्थ और इम्यूनिटी है, and this pandemic had different impact on different people. People who had higher immunities, probably they were okay in 4 to 6 days time, 10 days max, and people who had weaker immunity and the other chronic diseases with them probably collapsed also in this pandemic. So people realize that, and eating is the first thing which they can control. But none of us can control pollution. None of us can control a lot of other things happening in the world.
The fun part about COVID was it happened to everybody. Bad health at the time happened to everybody. Realization of I need better health happened to everybody. That means businesses like yours will pop up everywhere.
It is.
They have and they've shut also.
In 10 to 20 years time from now, if people are really that concerned, and you keep saying 60% of India, I would think it is 60% of India one, which is north of 12 lakh rupees a year. But if it is the real, and if everyone can see it as the real, then 10 to 20 years from now, how do you sustain your position? How are you building a defensible business?
That yeah, a lot of companies started. A lot of them. In fact, I've seen so many companies which started in just Delhi. I'll take the Delhi NCR market since I'm very well aware of it. So many of them had started around 2020, 2019, 2021 also. I don't see any of them existing till now. The fact is that we have survived. If you ask me what's going to happen 10 years later, 15 years later, to be honest, I have no idea. I have no clue. Ultimately, as a startup, you have to look at next 1 year, 2 years, kya karna hai.
But your vision is I'll get 1% of a 2,000 crore market. That means that your vision is 10 years down the line. That means how will you get there?
Okay, that's your top vision. 5 years down the line, you want to hit this revenue figure. Then you start back working. Okay, what is possible? How I will do it? What are the funds required to do it? Simple as that. I mean, so
the question is not about how you're going to get there. The question is, say you get there. Say today KSKT, Kaze Living gets, it starts growing at the speed that you guys want it to. 10 years down the line, there'll be a lot of other people who enter this market. This market is going to get bigger. How are you guys going to defend your market position in 10 years? We're not saying कि 10 साल में आप कहाँ रहोगे. That is not the question.
So 10 साल में how I defend my position, that is, to be honest, at this point, I do not have an answer for that. I'll have to see it once the competition comes up. What are they doing? I'll have to assess the competition as well. So because I do not know what's going to happen in the future. I have no idea. I'm pretty clueless about it.
So, I mean,
my objective is simple. What I believe in is, yes, you should be aware of your competition. 100%, you should know what your competition is doing, what kind of services, offering, products are going on. But ultimately, the key for us is our customers. We have to hold on to those customers. We have to make sure that we're giving the best kind of produce possible to them, the best kind of service possible to them. Just to give you an example. And so this was about last year in April. In fact, yeah, we're sitting right now in July. This is last around April, May, June. We scaled up. We started scaling up. Our entire warehouse came crumbling down. Our delivery system broke down. We, as the business teams in the office were sitting, we had no idea how many orders have gotten delivered. These are orders worth almost, at that point when we started scaling up, we were doing about per month, per day it would have been about 50,000 bucks, 60,000 bucks a day at that point. And we had no idea where the riders are. We had no idea how many customers have got the orders. We would get to know two days later that the order pahuncha hi nahi hai. And we were like, shit, this is a shit show. So this is exactly 12, 13 months ago. And now we are standing at 13 months later where we realized, okay, this is a major problem. We address that. We have a rider tracking system. We have different hubs to deliver it. We have a route planning system now in place. So all of this where we optimize our per delivery cost. For example, our delivery cost last year was at about almost 210 per order. Then it fell down to 145 per order. Currently, my delivery cost is working out to be 90 rupees per order.
And how would that compare to some of the other quick commerce players?
Quick commerce guys, I think they are working at about 30 to 40. But
they are very short last mile,
Yes.
1 or 2 kilometers. We deliver up to 20 kilometers.
Yep. So that's how things have changed over the last 1 year, and we've been able to make this change in 1 year. So when we see more and more competition come up, we'll see how to tackle it. And it's not that companies have not tried to replicate us. Now this has actually happened with us. We've had a lot of competition over the last 2 years, which has all been wiped away. So this is, I'm not going to name the company, but this was a company last year in April. They wanted us to acquire them. So the founders, the team came, understood our entire process of how the thing is. We had a good conversation. And then after that, the acquisition conversation kind of died. And within 3 to 4 months, I'm seeing on their website, they've started replicating everything that we do. I'm seeing our ads are being replicated. So of course, I mean, you can't get into, and of course, they're discounting our products which we have. They're discounting the same products. Somehow it did not work out for them. At the end of 2023, that's almost around January, the same company approaches us. Boss, hame acquire kar lo.
Okay.
Yeah. After trying to replicate us, not telling us that we are replicating you guys, but you can see what is happening. And then at that point, we were like, go jump.
How do you deal with this discounting game? Because buying stuff online, be it on Amazon, be it on Zepto, Blinkit, Swiggy, ordering food from Swiggy, Zomato, everywhere you're looking at कि मेरा 10 रुपया, 20 रुपया, 100 रुपया, 50 रुपया कहाँ बच सकता है?
So I give you another discount. So what we do is we have a elite membership programs that we have, the Privilege Club we call it, where instead of giving you a wallet discount, in fact, instead of giving you outright discount, because then I'll just be taking the order from you, I ask you, hey, you want to shop with me, you want to eat healthy, that is why you've come to me. Why don't you recharge your wallet? So if you recharge your wallet with 10,000 rupees, you can shop for 12,000 rupees. If you recharge your wallet with 20,000 rupees, you can shop for 25,000 rupees. That is how, as a customer, instead of discounting it, you can purchase much more. Now the benefit as a customer that you have is, आपको 5,000 एक्स्ट्रा मिल गया है आपके पास. वो 5,000 से you as a customer will want to try other products also which you've not tried. कि चल ठीक है, ये तो free का है. It's technically free money for you as a customer. I wouldn't mind trying this. And if you like it, that is when you start exploring a lot of other products. And that is what has been happening. That is one of the reasons why so many of our customers are ordering worth 5,000, 7,000, 8,000 on e-commerce only of these fresh produce and healthy products. 5,000-7,000 orders are not exactly heard of. So that is where we are offering those benefits to our customer. And one thing which we have really strengthened in the last 1 year is our customer support. Once again, we are not saying we are perfect. Not once have I said it. We have problems. We will continue to have glitches for the next 6 months. But our team is always there to address it for you. Our team is so dedicated that although it is written that the customer service is only going to be available for you from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., our customer service representatives, our CRM managers, they are also taking orders from customers at 10 p.m., 9 p.m., 11 p.m. also they are addressing customers. That is, of course, it's not that I'm forcing them to do it. They are so inclined to our customers. The importance of customer satisfaction is so truthfully told in our company that each individual is just wanting to do the best that they can for the customer. So if you probably message at 11 o'clock, you may receive a reply as well. For regular customers, they take orders on the phone also. Okay. You have an order, we'll take it and we'll punch it for you as well. So that is where we want to differentiate ourselves, that any problem, reach out to us and we are there to help you.
I would like to take a small take on your long-term versus short-term. So as the life is about handling small challenges every day with keeping your long-term vision in the mind, so is a startup. The startup life is also that. So every day there is a new challenge. Every phase there is a new challenge which we are trying to address. But yes, two things we are keeping constant. One, our positioning is very clear. We will be a healthier food company. So in one line, if I want to explain it, it is anything which is most commonly bought and sold, we don't have that. We have a better version of that. That is one statement. Two is, what we are doing is we are applying a collaborative approach, building up associations. We have acquired certain companies, like this delivery challenge which Ishan was talking. We solved it partly by acquiring a young delivery company, 51% stakes in the delivery company. So that's a group company now. So we have better control, better traceability of the riders and all those things. Kaze Living as a website was acquired, because rather than building a website from scratch, we acquired a website which was started by two young ladies, very bright ladies, but then they had different priorities in life. One of them wanted to go abroad for education, other was shifting the location. So we acquired that company. Similarly, we hired some of the young startups who did some decent work for a year or two, but then they couldn't sustain it. So we hired their team rather than acquiring their company. So this is how we have been building. So that process is on.
You keep saying healthier, and we go on healthy foods. How are you certifying this? Do you guys do proofs? You said they have quality testing. You grade the quality of produce that comes in. How do you do that?
So the first one is now, okay, when you look about healthier food, of course, let's take example of fresh produce in this, which is the easiest. You have currently our mangoes are doing very well. I think we are the only, or there will be 2-3 other smaller players in NCR who are doing certified organic mangoes. In this case, there are two things that we look at. One being, of course, the certificates that are needed, all the certificates as per the rules. And the second part is random testing of batches. We cannot, of course, test every batch. That is not practical. I mean, I can be told you should test every batch. But testing in India is very, very expensive. It costs some case anywhere between 25,000 to even 60,000 bucks. You can't do it for every batch. So these are the small precautions which we take just in case. And of course, the bigger thing here is ultimately your trust with your partners.
Knowing your partner well.
Yes. Knowing your partner well and that trust. When you work with them over the period of 6 months, 9 months to a year, you get to know, when you're sitting with people, you do get to know that what kind of an individual this person is. Does the person have integrity? How is he or she? How is the ethical behavior? Would they do something which would harm the ethics? So those are things that you have to judge and work with people. Ultimately, business is all about working with people and building up together.
Is there a difference between organic farming versus Mandi farming, or you use the word Jaivik farming? Is there an innate difference? Because I am aware that according to USDA, organic farming does involve certain chemicals that are allowed that can be used on produce, right? Is there a difference? Or are you guys just organic?
So the Jaivik farming or a natural farming is only using natural substances available in the system of ecology, which is all the natural fertilizers, natural pesticides. There is natural pesticides also made of gomut, made of buttermilk, made of sirka, a lot of things which can be used. And there are other ways like color trap and smell trap to drive away the pesticides and all. So that is natural farming. Organic is a subset of that, and the organic certification came in when the chemicals started coming in into India, and there was some food products being exported to US and Europe, and they wanted it to be organic certified, and that's how it came in. US FDA came in. So that is one. It's a natural farming is a superset, and organic certified is a subset of that. So that is one. There are various certification existing, which are the agencies which do certify. Natural Jaivik farming, there is no existing government setup in terms of certifying that. But now probably with focus of government on natural farming, they would do that also. In terms of healthier, that is a conscious call which is there between us and our farmer partners, that we say that these are the most harmful elements to be used, and we declare it with the consumer. Whatever is organic certified is labeled as organic certified, whatever is Jaivik grown is labeled as Jaivik grown, and whatever is preservative free or pesticide free, we declare that. So it may not be grown organically, but there's no pesticide or no preservative used, but there may be some fertilizers used. So it's a stages of the product which we are doing.
As a consumer, how do I reach you? How do I buy your stuff?
So as a consumer, you can reach us via two websites. The first one is kazeliving.com, KAZELIVING.com. You can download the iOS or Android app, or you can shop with us on KSKT.in. You can again download the iOS or Android app.
All the links are in the description below, and they will be popping up on your screen as well.
Then the WhatsApp numbers, email IDs, everything is there on the website. If our CRM people are very, very prompt, as I think we were discussing, even if at 11 o'clock you message, probably you'll get a reply in 15 minutes.
So guys, we have a tradition on the podcast. The last guest has left you a question. We would like you to answer that and then leave a question for the next guest. One question from each of you would be wonderful. The question we have for you, I want both your answers.
Okay.
Which is the biggest problem facing the world right now?
Striving for peace, and that's again striving for balance. Existing and letting others coexist is a big problem, which I think world needs to work, and that is also there in our Indian tradition in terms of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And the same concept, coexisting, existing yourself with your own individual personality and letting other exist, is applied in this also, where we are saying that we as humans exist, but let the other parts of the ecology also exist.
The last 2 months, the heat has been so bad that, and of course we are all aware that huge amount of deaths have taken place across North India. I mean, we are still, I would call us privileged to be sitting in this AC room with the fan on, having water whenever we want. But there are a lot of people who have been facing the issue of global warming and the heat, extreme weather conditions, be it whatsoever is there. That is something which I feel is large.